Hello, mathematicians. Here we are ready for math lesson number 7. All right, so we're going to be talking about adding decimals. And if you cast your mind back, way back to math lesson number 1, you'll remember that we added some decimals by shading in. So if we start out with 0.2, right, that's 2 out of 10, so we've shaded in 2 out of 10. And then we want to add another 0.2. Then we can take these two, shade them in over here. Then we can take those two, shade them in over here. And we can count what we've got. And there's 4 out of 10, so that would be 0.4. Okay, so we could do that for each of our decimals, but it's going to take a long time to do all of that shading in. So we don't always want to have to waste our time doing that. Now, you guys are good at patterns. You've probably already noticed that looks pretty similar to 2 plus 2 equals 4. Oh, so there's got to be just a regular math way of adding up our decimals instead of having to draw pictures each time. And it's true. So when we're adding the numbers 10 plus 7, if we were to write it the other way up, so we write it up and down, we line up the numbers on the right-hand side so that we know that we've got the ones column, we've got the tens column, and everything lines up, so we're adding the same things each time. What we're really using to line them up without even noticing is the decimal point, right? Because the decimal point always shows us the number to the left of the decimal point is the number that's in the ones column, right? So we're just lazy and we haven't been writing the decimal point in, but that is what we're using to line it up. So if we get rid of that for a minute, okay, what if we line this part up by the decimal point? Okay, make sure the decimal points are in line. So we've got 0.2 plus 0.2. Oh, well, we know how to do that. 2 plus 2 is 4. And then the decimal point just falls straight down into the answer. So back with the 10 plus 7, okay, we add them. 0 plus 7 is 7, 1 plus nothing. So that's a good point. Anytime there's nothing in that column, we assume it's a 0, right? Because again, mathematicians are lazy. If they don't have to put a 0 in, they're not going to. Putting a 0 in here doesn't change the amount of stuff. We still only have 7 ones. So we don't have to have that 0, we can get rid of it, okay? But it's there, so we're really doing 1 plus nothing. And then the decimal point falls straight down. So you'd agree that 10 plus 7 is 17, so that is going to work out that way. Okay, now what if we try it out with a different number? Okay, and we're going to use some of our trusty base 10 blocks just to prove that it is going to work. So what do we have here? We've got 2 sets of decimals. So remembering that 1 whole cake is 1 whole, and then each of these would be 1/10 of a cake. So the decimal we've got to start with is we've got 1.2, 1 whole cake and 2/10. Then we're going to add another decimal. Here we've got 1 whole cake and 6/10. So we've got 1.6. So when I wrote that addition equation, I lined it up with the decimals. Okay, so now when we're adding, we don't just like randomly pile things up and add. No, we make sure we're adding the same things together, right? So I had 2/10 and 6/10. I put them all together. Oh, now I've got 8/10. 2 plus 6 is equal to 8. I had 1 cake. I added another cake. So now I have 2 full cakes. And if I were to describe this decimal, it would be 2.8, which makes sense because this decimal is going to fall straight down and be in the middle there. Okay. So that's one option. Now, what if I have this decimal here, and then I add this, oh, we could just do that one actually, this decimal here. Okay, so the top decimal, again, I've got one whole cake plus 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8 tenths of a cake. So my first top decimal would be 1.8. My bottom decimal, one whole cake, and then 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6 tenths of a cake. Okay, so this time I've got 1.8 plus 1.6. So again, to start with, we're going to start on the number on the right, and we're going to add all of these together. Okay, so I've got 8, 9, 10, 11, 12, 13, 14. Oh my goodness, we've got a problem. I can only put one digit in this column. Okay. Oh, but I could trade some of these tenths. I think I have enough that I could trade for a whole other cake. So if you remember, they're tenths, so I'm going to need 10 of them, and then I can exchange it. Just check and make sure I've got the right number. Yep. All right, straight trade. These 10 are going to go away, and they're going to be replaced by this guy. Well, whole cakes don't belong in this column anymore, so it's going to have to go into the whole column, or whole cake column, the ones. And now what I've got left is 4 tenths. So that would be like when we had our 14, the 4 went here, and the 1 went up here because it becomes into the next column. So now in my next column, I've got 1 plus 1 plus 1, or 1 plus 1 plus 1, 3 whole cakes, and I've got 3 whole cakes and 4 tenths, so the decimal point is going to go in between. This decimal is going to fall down and go in between here. So 1.8 plus 1.6 is equal to 3.4. All right. Now, this also works if we've got hundredths. So let's get rid of this. Okay. Okay. So my top fraction right now, I don't know why I'm saying fraction, my top decimal, we've got 1 whole cake, and then we've got 2 tenths, and then we've got 6 hundredths. So my first decimal is 1.26. Okay, I'm gonna start out with 1 whole cake. Then I'm gonna have 4 tenths. And I've got 5 100ths. So I've got 1 whole cake plus 4 tenths of a cake and 5 hundredths of a cake. And I want to add all of that together. Okay, so I'm going to start out, always starting out on the right hand side. Okay, so I've got 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11 hundredths. Oh no, again, it's a problem because I can only put 1 digit in here. But I could exchange these guys for one of these because it's the same amount of stuff. So I'm going to trade, that one's going to go away. This stuff's going to go away. And I've traded it into this. So now, this can't go in this column, it's going to have to go up into the next column. And I've got 100th left. So I get 1 here, and the other, now I'm going to add 1 into this column because now I've got an extra tenth. Okay, so then in this column I've got 1 plus 2 plus 4, 1 plus 2 gives me 3, 3 plus 4 gives me 7. Okay, put those all together, and I've got 7 of those, and then 1 plus 1 plus 1 gives me 2. 2 whole cakes, 7 tenths of a cake, the decimal point is going to go in here, which we know because it's going to fall straight down into our answer. Okay. What if we decided we wanted to add this decimal here? So I've got 1 2/10. And then I want to add 1 1/10 and 2/100. So my next decimal is 1.12. Okay, we still want to add them together. So I've lined them up with the decimal point. Oh, but in this case, there's nothing up there. Oh, there's no hundredths. So all I have are these two lonely little hundredths. So nothing plus 2. Remember, so anytime there's no number in there, it's assumed it is our good friend, Zero the hero, placeholder extraordinaire. 0 plus 2 gives us 2. 2 plus 1 gives us 3. 1 plus 1 gives us 2. Final thing, decimal point falls down into our answer. Alrighty. Now, let's say we tried to do it the old way. I have my 1.2 and then my 1.12. If I didn't line them up with the decimal points, and I just tried to line everything up so the numbers were on the right, well, I don't get the same answer, and I don't know where to put the decimal point. It just gets really confusing because it's the wrong thing to do. Don't do that. Don't do that. Do this. So when we are ready to add our decimals, this is what we are going to do. Okay, step 1, we are going to line them up with the decimal point. Then we're going to add normally starting on the right. And it's really important to start on the right because remember when we had too many in a column, we had to, shift it over into the next column. So if you start on the other side, you don't know what you're going to have to add in there. If there's no number in the column, this guy right here, no number here, it's Zero the hero. And then the last thing, your decimal point is going to fall straight down into the answer. Okay, so now you're probably wondering, hey, what are we going to do in our math books? Don't worry, we've got math for you. So if you have a blue book, you're going to do page 275 and page 276. And if you have a green book, you're going to do page 233 and page 234. Okay? And again, anytime you have any questions, then feel free to send me an email and we can set up a Zoom or a Skype meeting. Okay? And I will also read the questions for the green book in another video. All right, happy mathing. Good luck.